You know what I dislike? What WWE fanboys and the WWE fandom is recently doing? And you can see it on the timeline, it's everywhere. That they are accepting what WWE is giving us without question, without pushback, and in the same breath, going to everyone who either has a problem with the new booking and forcing them in a way of pushing the idea of, come on, WWE is great, WWE is fine. Why are you bitching? Why are you complaining? Now, I understand that people do complain for the sake of complaining and they're flipping and flopping and they're contradicting themselves. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about actual WWE fans or wrestling fans in general that tweet out their dissatisfaction of what they're seeing, what they're consuming, because something that they're watching has taken them out, has really not allowed their belief to be suspended. And I say that because not only did I finally watch John Cena's final match against Gunther, which was the worst match ever, and I was right not to watch it. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Tape Study Series is exclusively on patreon.com/Marie Shadows. And that reaction to that match will be exclusively on patreon.com/Marie Shadows. So I hope that you guys go over to the Patreon, get a free account, because now Patreon does this thing that if you have a Patreon account, you can follow your favorite content creators. Or if you want to help me out financially by upgrading to a tier of your choosing. That tier of your choosing will be the family one at $7.50 a month, where you get access to unlimited tape study reviews, JCW Lunacy reviews, and Discord notes, the whole entire archive of that. So head over to patreon.com/Marie Shadows, because we will be talking about John Cena's final match and how it was the worst match. And thank God I did not have a lot of expectations. And you're probably wondering, how does John Cena's final match fit into this podcast episode? Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new episode of the Squared Circle Podcast with your host, Marie Shadows. And we're going to be reviewing Royal Rumble. That's right. Again, you're probably like, what does John Cena's final match have to do with the Royal Rumble? Because WWE has been making bad decisions, and I said this on Twitter. I have also said on Twitter, somewhere into the interwebs, that I have been enjoying WWE. That's what I said last. There are still some good segments and elements and matches and professional wrestlers that I enjoy watching when they go on WWE programming, whether that's Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the PLEs. However, Royal Rumble for this year really took me out because of AJ Styles versus Gunther. First of all, let's talk about Gunther, because for some reason the IWC seems to now attach themselves to liking Gunther and accepting that Gunther is the career killer. And we have new influencers in the wrestling community space that want to talk about WWE, and they do talk about WWE, but they want to make you believe that Gunther is the guy. And it's like, dude, Gunther should not be the guy for this career killer sort of journey, the same similar journey that Randy Orton had. Randy Orton did it better back then for him being the legend killer, because it made sense for what he was doing. Gunther right now is 38 years old and he's a career killer. What does killing these careers of these wrestlers mean to him as a character? What kind of growth are we seeing? We're not seeing any growth, but the WWE fanboys will have you believe that Gunther has nuclear heat. WWE fanboys and content creators romanticize the idea of a wrestler having nuclear heat without understanding and realizing what nuclear heat actually is. in 2026, in the modern era of professional wrestling, we will never get to nuclear heat unless you are JCW Lunacy. And I know that is a very weird comparison, and I know that really is absurd, but it is. JCW Lunacy is that attitude era where anything goes, and you can definitely get nuclear heat on JCW Lunacy because they treat it like a show, like a wrestling show, where you get to escape the hellhole that is life at this moment, where people are talking about politics 24/7. And so JCW Lunacy can bring you into their world, and they can develop nuclear heat. Companies like WWE, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and MLW do not want to take those chances to have wrestlers create nuclear heat. And I don't blame them, and I'm not telling them to do it, and I'm not forcing them to do it. It's not like, oh my God, you guys have to do it or else. No, it's none of those. I'm giving you a perspective. I'm making you think a little bit outside of your little bubble in professional wrestling, especially in the professional wrestling circles on Twitter, that those companies play it safe. And that's okay. They could play it safe. I'm not upset at that. But to say that Gunther now has nuclear heat because he retired John Cena. John Cena gave up. That motherfucker always said, never give up. But he gave up with that smile, and then he wants to try to save face and try to connect the dots with Star Wars and philosophical shit. Nah, dude, you gave up way before then. Anyway, the reason why I keep bringing John Cena into this is because not only was it a bad match, like I said, the reaction from all the fanboys and the influencers of WWE would go around and tell people that they shouldn't be feeling the way that they were feeling because all of their feelings were justified. To feel like John Cena gave up, to feel like that was a shit match, to feel like that match might not have been for them. And that was a really stupid way to go out. But you have people in the space trying to tell others that had a valid reason for feeling that way that Gunther is the guy. Gunther was the right person to retire John Cena, and he won the tournament. Why the hell did we go along with a tournament in the first place? How lame is it to being creative and tell Triple H, hey, I think we should have a tournament to figure out who's going to be John Cena's last opponent, when it should have been we're playing the hits and John Cena is going to go out on the person that he decides to pick for his match. If WWE listened to the fans to have AJ Styles versus John Cena one last time, why couldn't WWE listen to the fans again to have John Cena versus the rightful person rather than Gunther and go on this tour of supposed nuclear heat and a career killer when he is at 38 years old? And I do not like using a wrestler's age, but I need to put this into perspective. What the fuck is he doing that's going to be elevating him to becoming the next star when he is already a star? He's already a WWE star. So how does this tie into Royal Rumble at Saudi? Because AJ Styles retired at Saudi, and I am still not accepting that, even though Nakamura wrote a diary on it and mentioned in the diary entry that AJ Styles told him at Royal Rumble that's the date that he picked. And that match between Gunther and AJ Styles should have been everything John Cena versus Gunther. Should have been everything. Gunther versus AJ Styles was a damn good match until AJ Styles went to sleep and retired, and I'm not going to accept it, not just yet, but it was a really good match that definitely helps. But again, why does Gunther need the career killer right now in his age and in his character development? I'll tell you the reason why I do not accept AJ Styles retiring, even though Nakamura may or may not have spoiled it. I don't accept it because wrestling has taught me a lot of things. Wrestling is always subject to change. You could always change someone's mind for whatever they want. Even if people are going back 2 years, 5 years, how many years to find that clip of AJ Styles talking about retirement and why he wants to retire. And I get it, you know, I really do. But retire on top, like the top guy you are, like the phenomenal one you are, rather than doing this whole shit with Gunther and a career killer. Like, why do you want to have an asterisk? Hey, you had a retirement match. Oh, who was it against? One of your best rivals in your history career of you being a wrestler? No, it was Gunther. Who the fuck is Gunther? The career killer is going to have an asterisk. It's going to come off as like, oh my God, that's so lame and cheap. Like, what? And again, I say that because Gunther does not need these career killer gimmicks to elevate himself when he's gonna be up there too in age. Everyone that he's beating is in the same age bracket as him. I can understand if someone young who's maybe like 25, 26, you know, mid-20s, going after AJ Styles and AJ Styles putting over the young kid. I could accept that. But I just don't like the fact that everyone on Twitter is all like, accept it. You got to accept it. Gunther's the guy. Gunther is going to go and be a career killer and retire Brock Lesnar. Gunther is going to be this career killer and go retire your next old favorite wrestler. And it gets annoying because everyone is fantasy booking. And the moment you push back against them or you say, hey, this is not gonna happen, or if you're like, can you not do that? You're in the wrong. As someone who loves this business and love the wrestlers and know their career and all the sacrifices that they have done, I'd rather see WWE give them their flowers rather than treating them like fucking shit. John Cena should have had a big send-off rather than facing someone from a tournament. AJ Styles should have won against Gunther at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia because that would mean that Gunther might have a shot at winning the Royal Rumble as compensation. You know, that's how you write story. Gunther should not be this unbeatable character, this unbeatable wrestler where he doesn't really do anything else other than chops, power bombs, big power moves. He can do a collar and elbow tie up. He could do a headlock. Anybody could do that. But there's nothing special about Gunther except whenever he somehow gets a power up, does a combination to the opponent and ends up winning, even though the opponent had most of the advantage. And here comes Gunther with this quick energy and then beats the guy and then it falls flat. So after that match on Royal Rumble, I still watched Royal Rumble, but I was just completely taken out of it. The men's Royal Rumble, some of the spots got me back into it. The women's Royal Rumble was okay, it was interesting. And the Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn was okay. By the way, Drew McIntyre, man, Drew McIntyre is a beast and a menace. And I'm so glad that he is in WWE doing everything in his power to be this amazing antagonist, this amazing villain. Just very quickly to note in the Women's Royal Rumble, first of all, congratulations to Liv Morgan for winning, and she's going to go to WrestleMania and fight for the title. If anybody on the Twitter timeline is upset that the crowd was chanting overrated to Lash Legend, it has everything to do with Lash Legend throwing the women that they like and adore over the top rope. So do not take personal offense on behalf of Lash Legend because the fans in Saudi Arabia was chanting overrated. It was just because she threw people that they liked and they're fans of over the top rope. So you know that saying that we say that your favorites can't always win? That's exactly what happened in the Women's Royal Rumble. Lash threw out women that are the favorites of the crowd, and they started chanting, she's overrated. It has nothing to do with skin color. It has nothing to do with politics. They're there to enjoy the show as a fan. And by the way, why the fuck are the Bella Twins back in WWE? I can tolerate Nikki. Why the hell is Brie there? Yeah, I'm not a Bella Twins fan. Never was. Sami Zayn needs to go home. Just stay home for a bit, dude. Just do that. For the Men's Royal Rumble, that was fun. It had some really fun, quirky stuff. We need to talk about Jey Uso. As much as I am a fan of the Usos, not everything should be a party. This is the Royal Rumble where you have a chance to go to WrestleMania, like a guaranteed spot. It's not like a whatever, and I don't mind if there's silliness within the Royal Rumble, but to have him come out, do his yeets, and say what up to the announcers and have a good time in a party and then get into the ring and then do the sign for, we're going to run it back. Oh yeah, Oos, we're going to run it back. And they go and run it back and they have fun. And then finally we have an interaction with him and Roman, and luckily Roman slapped him. But if Jey is going to continue to get upset when fans like myself and others are calling this out of him yeeting every single time and every single where and not becoming serious, but then he's like, hey, I don't want to listen to criticism and I'm going to do what I do and all this kind of bullshit. It's like, dude, we're trying to tell you that it's better for you to be a serious competitor rather than just being the guy that always wants to party, the guy that's always going to be the yeet, that's going to be attached to you, nothing else. If someone is going to talk about Jey Uso, they're going to be like, yeah, the guy that yeets, rather than the penitentiary Jey Uso. Jey Uso yeeting is just his entrance. And okay, there it goes. That he says that he's not just an entrance, but yes, you are. Myself and others have been saying the same thing, that you are just an entrance. And that is sad. That should not be attached to you because he has such a very historic, long career that is amazing. Most people are not going to remember that. They're going to remember, oh yeah, he's the yeeting guy. And then it's like, we told you not to keep doing it. There was a time where Jey Uso was being serious and he didn't want to yeet as much, but the fans wanted him to yeet. And it's like, you fans that go there live need to understand that Jey Uso also needs to feel authentic and serious to those that are watching at home, because we also help too in the creation and direction of storylines from time to time, depending on what we're talking about and giving constructive criticism. I don't want Jey just to be another entrance person. He is way more deserving of that. And not everything has to be a party in WWE. I like the fact that Obafemi was in the Royal Rumble. I like the fact that Ilya Dragunov was in the Royal Rumble. I like that we had a confrontation between Ilya Dragunov and Brock Lesnar and Obafemi. And then Brock gets eliminated and it's not even talked about. It's not even a shocker because we got Jey doing his damn entrance. What is that? Cody and Roman were good. I like the fact that we had El Grande Americano and the original El Grande Americano, even though that was the wrong setting to put those two in. But I guess it was just like, oh, fuck it. This is what we have. This is who we have. And Roman going to WrestleMania, winning the 2026 Royal Rumble. I have nothing bad to say. I really don't care. Congratulations to Roman Reigns for winning and going to WrestleMania. This might be his last WrestleMania. Who knows? He might go on his retirement tour, but this might be his last one. My pick originally was going to be Drew McIntyre because that dude deserves the world, but he's currently champion. So, I was just like, oh, well, there goes my pick. I don't have any other pick. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because for some reason, I am not allowed to talk about stuff that affects women. I'm not allowed to bring forth issues such as bringing woke topics into professional wrestling and being an activist, and you really don't need to do that. Or issues on feminism being injected into wrestling on the commentating table. However, it is totally okay for the wrestling journalists, including Brandon Thurston and everybody else, to speculate on the human rights condition for the Saudis that built the Royal Rumble Stadium within a month. They are able to lecture you about issues relating to human rights, but I am not able to tell you perspectives about how inserting woke and feminism into wrestler storylines and on commentary is not a good thing, that I shouldn't be able to do it, that I should be silent. But every time the Saudi conversation comes around, everybody else can do that without a problem. Here's the thing. I'm going to talk about the things that matter to me. I'm going to be giving perspective on the things that matter to me, because for way too long in the wrestling community, in the wrestling bubble, we allowed the loudest of the loudest virtue singlers to get their way. And they need the brownie points and they need your money whenever you go over to their Patreon, whenever you go over to their live streams and you give them a super chat. They need your money, so they need to tell you what you already know. And they don't care because they're making money off of your emotions. They're making money off of you feeling like you're helpless or that you're angry because people are going over to Saudi Arabia, and the only thing that you can tell your audience is that they have no human rights over there. The women are subjected to this and that, and that they killed a American citizen journalist over there, which would happen like 18 years ago. And they always call it blood money. But I can't talk about women's issues. I can't talk about woke. I can't talk about the things that might affect me in this business. But it's totally okay if the wrestling media and the dirt sheets get to talk about Saudi Arabia and how it's blood money this and blood money that. I am going to be reminding everybody that the whole entire world, every single civilization that we've known from the beginning of writing all the books or the beginning of time, every single person has bled on this earth. So that means that the world is essentially made up in blood that is from the sacrifices of people, the untimely deaths of people, and also money has been exchanged throughout everywhere in the world, and it has crossed bloody hands. But no, all of a sudden, America is the moral high ground and Saudi is the bad one. Wrestling Twitter will have you be reminded of that. How hypocritical are the people in the wrestling community, and they don't want to stand on their own standards and their own contradictions. If you do have a problem with Saudi Arabia, you should not be talking about the Royal Rumble over there. You should not be talking about WWE when they go over there and they announce it. That is how you stand on your morals. If you truly do not want to talk about it, but you need to talk about it so that you can get money off of the people that are emotional and they're not going to be reasoned with. So let's get back to this whole human rights thing. From what I can tell, it was floating around on Twitter that this was slave labor. And it's like, you guys need to stop having a one-track mind about slavery. Slavery is done. It's been abolished. The only thing that's different is that our phones and social media and TikTok and reels and 15-second videos have now become the new slavery for us. Okay. But people working in really extreme bad conditions is no longer a thing. However, over in Saudi Arabia, we don't know what the case is unless you talk to someone directly from there, and you probably take it with a grain of salt, because I rather go over there and see how they do things. But from the looks of it, because they got this Royal Rumble stadium built within a month, it's not slave labor. You know what it is? Saudi Arabia probably doesn't have unions. Whether you agree with a union or don't agree with a union, I don't agree with unions because they take money out of people's paychecks and they really don't do shit. They do some stuff good depending on the situation, but most of the time they don't do shit. And so here in America, whenever we need to get something done, whether that is to build a building for more housing or to build a bridge, or maybe not a bridge, that might be too extreme, I don't know. But either way, they still have a union. But these unions that are attached to construction workers, they basically call the shots on like how many days they could work, what they can do. They could take this off. It's never like a straight shot of like, hey, we need to build this building within the month's time. No, it will take years and years and years and years. Have you guys not been paying attention to what's happening in your own cities and how your cities are growing? And when I say growing, I mean like there's buildings being built everywhere. And you're like, hey, that building started 2 years ago and we're currently in 2026 and that building is taking forever. Why are they taking forever? Sometimes unions end up stopping things and they go and take breaks, and the workers are still probably maybe going to get paid, but essentially the workers are home until their next appearance date to come back and work on the building. In some cases, people have to wait for the bricks to be delivered. In other cases, people have to wait for the lumber to be delivered, and that may be on delay depending on where they're getting the items from. Over in Saudi Arabia, they're like, oh, we have all of this. We don't need to wait any longer, and they get it done within a month. Is it slave labor? Who knows? But why the fuck are you putting a label to it if you don't know? This is why it frustrates me within the wrestling community that we accept the idiots that say, oh, it's slave labor, it's slave labor. So that way they can keep you in your emotional state so you could be like, no, human rights. But yet then you just cursed out somebody because they didn't want to follow you or whatever the case, or you threw a buzzword at them because they didn't agree with you. But you want to shout human rights. You guys got to stop doing that shit. Countries around the world are not perfect. You guys got to get off your high horse and think that everything is perfect, but you say America sucks. And with that being said, this is just my tiny review of the Royal Rumble, because I do not like the fact that AJ Styles got retired in Saudi, of all places, all events, and got retired by Gunther. Gunther doesn't need it. And the IWC with WWE Fanboys and the influencers, the content creators, don't understand what nuclear heat is all about for a wrestler. I will say it again. In 2026... unless you work for JCW Lunacy, no wrestler is going to get nuclear heat, because they are going to receive the backlash that will be given to them by the fans, and they're going to turn quick. And then they're like, oh shit, who's going to pay me? How are they going to buy my merch and all this kind of bullshit? So Gunther does not have nuclear heat. Gunther is getting booed because either people just don't want to see him, people are just reacting to react, or they're piped in boos, or whatever the case may be, but that's not nuclear heat. I just wish that AJ Styles would have had more matches. Maybe we see him in TNA, maybe we don't. I have no idea. But again, I'm just not accepting it at this very moment. And I will say it again, John Cena versus Gunther, a shit worse of a retirement match. Again, that breakdown for tape study series will be on patreon.com/Marie Shadows. The Royal Rumbles were okay. The matches were okay. Again, I just don't like AJ Styles retiring because that was really, really unfair. And they got, and when I say they, I mean WWE. WWE got a real reaction out of me, a real, genuine reaction, because I was like, no, not like this. It's not going to happen this way. And it did. So WWE did their job by getting out of me a genuine reaction. But what I don't like is the WWE fanboys and influencers telling you that you should accept what story direction Gunther is going in because they have joined the bandwagon so that people can tune in and listen to them talk about it and fantasy book however they want it to be. They want you to be a part of that. And if you're not happy about it, they will let you know. But if you're on board, high fives all around. But do not allow them to bully you into liking something that you do not like. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to my review of the Royal Rumble. Any comments, leave them down below. This will be available on Spotify, YouTube, Substack, and also Rumble. And if you guys don't know, I have been gifted a 1-month free premium trial to Rumble. Visit the Rumble channel, rumble.com/user/Marie Shadows, and also the Patreon, patreon.com/Marie Shadows. If you want more unfiltered takes like this and other things that are off topic that we're also talking about. Aside from this wrestling podcast episode, I do have Discord Notes. Discord Notes is my sidecast podcast where we get to talk about off-topic stuff such as societal issues. And it's not like an everyday thing where I'm covering quote-unquote politics, and I really don't like to use that word. I like to call them more societal issues because I like to give them a different kind of lens, a worldview lens, a different perspective, and just something different to think about other than the usual, hey, you're emotional? Let me attach to that. Let me make you more emotional. No, I'm here to put a calmness to it. I'm here to explain things on a deeper level that most people don't get the chance to do. So Discord Notes talks about societal issues. The newest Discord Notes that I just wrapped up is called Is ICE, the organization that we love, because ICE keeps Americans safe and keeps the streets safe, that protects women and children from illegal people. Anyway, so the title is ICE whitewashing? And I was like, what the fuck are we talking about? You get to hear all the drama, all the breakdown, and it's just based off of Ava's WWE tweet of F ICE. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not ready to have that conversation with me or listen to that conversation with me, because for 2026, we are chasing conversations that may make you uncomfortable because people get too big of themselves. They feel themselves. Their ego grows. And these people want to label you whatever it is that whenever you speak out of line, they're going to label you. And that is liable. That is slander. We're not doing that. And most people want to start drama with you because they want to live in an emotional bubble. And if you're not there with them, you're every buzzword in the book. Okay. So somebody, Rebel is here, decided to start it. So that video is going to be up on Rumble and also Patreon. Patreon is a combination of where we can speak freely and where we could break down professional wrestling matches and have a second pair of eyes and feedback and stuff like that. I want you guys to know, and even wrestlers that listen to the Squared Circle podcast, that I will not sugarcoat anything for you. I will tell you what you need to hear versus what you want to hear. There's going to be a difference of opinions, obviously. However, there's always going to be like, hey, let's try this out. Hey, let's talk about this. Hey, have you thought about doing this kind of storytelling within the match? I am here to be your guide. I am here to be your cheerleader. And I'm here to tell you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. Sometimes people take that as a negative, and it is not a negative. It really isn't. If we are not asking questions, if we are not looking at things from a different perspective, if we are not trying to surround ourselves with the best people in the world, in real life, and maybe even online, then what is the point of growing into a mature person that can understand people and be tolerant of people because they can understand? This is not about empathy. This is more about compassion. And this is more about standing your ground as well. But if we are not growing by not having these conversations and shutting these conversations down early, what is the point of growing? That is why I have Discord notes, so that way I can rant about stuff that is off topic from professional wrestling. And if you want to hear that kind of stuff, that's available on Patreon exclusively and will soon be exclusive to Rumble as well. As for YouTube, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but the Spotify episodes will still be uploaded to YouTube. However, YouTube stagnates my videos. YouTube puts a cap on my videos. And the only freedom that I have is over our Rumble. YouTube is not going anywhere, just so you know. It'll still be there. But Rumble is the place to be. Patreon is the place to be. Substack for other things, as for writing and whatnot. But Spotify, Rumble, Patreon, those are the places. YouTube will probably get the last of everything that I do just because YouTube has stagnated my stuff and it is super annoying. So rumble.com/user/Marie Shadows, patreon.com/Marie Shadows. I hope to see you there. If you guys have any comments, questions, leave them down below. Spotify now accepts comments and participate in the polls if you see them, and follow the channel on Spotify to help us grow. We're trying to get into the partner program on Spotify, and I basically need your help. I would love your help. Anyway, thank you for listening to Squared Circle Podcast, listening to this review of the Royal Rumble, and that's what I have to say about the Royal Rumble. You have been listening to an episode of the Squared Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.